Hello and welcome to the video. I'm William, the deity of despair, and today's question is, will the deity jump on another outdated trend? Look, I said one, that this channel wasn't going to be just reactions, and two, this channel says to do whatever the fuck I want, and what I want is to talk about things that, I want to talk about like anime and video games and sports and a bunch of shit, but I don't want to edit things. I'm just an inherently lazy person, and doing actual reviews of stuff, doing, gameplay videos and all that, does require more editing time than I want to put in, at least for right now. So I was like, what can I do then to talk about something, but not edit a lot? A tier list, baby. That's right. We're doing a tier list today. I am going to be doing a tier list on Danganronpa characters. Because out of like all the media I know, I think this one is a very interesting tier list topic. Like, it's not like my favorite media of all time or anything. I can't, I just think that this property as a whole leaves a lot to various discussions, especially when you're talking about the characters. Now, a couple of things to say about this is that I played all four Danganronpa games in 2020, so 5 years ago at this point in time. Uh, it wasn't because of COVID or lockdown or anything. It just happened to be the time I was introduced to the series. It was funny timing. But I played the first game, loved it. Immediately went into the second because I played it on PlayStation, so it had the 1-2 trigger reload. So it was just a combination of the two games from their Vita ports. Immediately went into the second game, loved that even more. I played, then I played Ultra Star Girls next. I'm pretty sure that's the order I did. That game had a very good story, interesting characters. The gameplay was not it. Uh, I will never understand why the visual novel game had a third person shooter entry, but it had one. And then I played. No, then I watched the Danganronpa 3 anime, which, has the future arc and past. No, that's not what it's called. The despair arc and hope arc? Future and despair? I can't remember what it was called, but it was like 12 episodes of Makoto, Hina, and Kyoko in the Future Foundation and going through another killing game, and then 12 episodes of the Class 77, 78, 77, the Danganronpa 2 cast being thrown into despair. And I thought that anime had a lot of good potential that didn't capitalize on a single fucking thing. That's by the by. Wow, my audio is skyrocketing. I'm gonna turn that down a bit. Actually, holy shit, that was crazy. Um, I'm not even like I don't know why I was speaking so loud. Anyway, uh, yeah, I think if both sides of 24 episodes apiece could have been really great. 24 episodes of that killing game with our first trio, and then 24 episodes of the other crew going into despair would have been sick. But what we got was meh. And then I played V3, which was a video game in the Danganronpa series that had characters in it, and I will rank those characters in the story. I didn't like V3. I genuinely hated multiple parts of V3 throughout. Actually, no. Chapter 1 I loved. I loved Chapter 1. I thought it was a great start. Everything after Chapter 1 had something that I hated in it, and I will discuss that when characters pop up for V3. But then, as you can see from this listing so far, there's some characters already sorted. I didn't read any of the novels. So the Kirigiri, the Zero, and I think there was another one. I didn't read any of them. So I put them as well as the hit list uh, kidnapping people and also Kiri's grandpa into this tier because they're just not real characters. The cat and the stink bug though are S plus plus, so yeah, that doesn't have to be said. And then getting into the actual rankings, this is such a long intro, but real quick, the actual rankings S plus plus, these two can't be topped. Then S class, S tier is my top five specifically, my top five favorite characters in the series. A is characters I love. B is characters I like. C are characters that I am mostly indifferent to. Some of them I have more positive feelings on, some of them I have more negative feelings on, but I am, at the end of the day, indifferent to them. D are characters I dislike, and then F are characters that I absolutely hate. And then the actual rankings are going to be based off of a few things. You know, their general character, you know, their archetype, their trope, and whatever, how well they do within it, their overall writing, how enjoyable they were, as well as how the story utilized them, and a lot of different aspects. I guess one other thing before, as I continue to ramble on, I am a writer. I am a writer. It's not my job or anything, but I do write stories. So I'm going to be talking a lot about characters writing and, you know, as I said previously, their tropes and archetypes and stuff, and you know how they fit into it, what they do well, what they subvert, what they failed at, all that kind of stuff. So I just preface that I do speak from experience within that particular topic. Finally, something I'm experiencing when I'm talking about it. Novelty. Anyway, so this was on Tier Maker. I picked one of the ones that had all the characters and shit, and that had like clean images of them all too, for the most part. So these characters, it's just random order. I have no idea how the person who made this like uploaded them, but we're starting. I'm blocking it a little bit, but we're gonna start off with Leon Kuwata, the ultimate baseball star from Danganronpa 1. I He has to be in mostly indifferent. I mean, he was the very first. Oh, spoilers for the entire series. He was the very first killer. His case is the most trivial, not just because of the English translation that like spelled out his name, but also because like it was it was basics. It was the very first trial of the entire series, so they are gonna have to like baby you throughout it, and they did. So like his end time of it was, I don't fault the character for that. And actually don't fault the writing for that. It's just how it had to be, and that's fair. But up until then, he was also just a whatever character. Like he, he didn't. He doesn't like baseball, but he secretly still loves it. He wants to be a rock star to hook up with girls. He is just a very basic character, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'll say, there's nothing wrong with being a basic character. There's just nothing to think about with him. The most characterization he gets is actually from later on, in in a side story in Ultra Despair Girls, where you learn about his cousin Canon. Like that's the most characterization he gets. So yeah, he's just a basic character. He's fine, whatever. Generally, don't care one way or the other about him. Honestly, by the end of the first game, you kind of forgot he existed. Next is Akane Owari, the ultimate gymnast from Danganronpa 2. I like her. She was funny. There's my opinions and feelings on the 2 cast is somewhat biased because of the reveal at the end of the game where they were secretly all remnants of despair, which I thought was a brilliant reveal, a brilliant twist, and retroactively like upped every single one of those characters a notch in my viewing of them, and like in how I like looked at their backstories and the things they would do and say. Akane is one of the characters that like benefited pretty well from that, because like before she would have been in C, indifferent. She her background fine, whatever. For her being the character she is made sense. It just wasn't very interesting. The character being obsessed with food is not an interesting character trope to me. I don't care about characters obsessed with food. Like, I love me some food. Despite being as skinny as I am, I love me some food. But like, I don't care about characters who are obsessed with it. Her desire to like train with Coach Nekamaru was pretty cool. I like that dynamic. But it was in chapter 4 especially, and I think it was chapter 3 when it originally happened, where Nekamaru sacrificed himself, and she does not grow as a character for it. It's why she could never possibly be in love or higher, because like they had a chance for a character arc for her into, and this happened with a couple characters actually. They had a chance for a character arc, and it just didn't happen. It's not even that it didn't go where, it didn't even truly start. Like, Nekamaru sacrifices himself to protect her, and uh, nothing happens. She doesn't learn anything. She doesn't improve as a being. She is just the same character. And then later, when Nekamaru dies, once again, she's just the same character. Like, she might make, certain remarks here and there about missing him, and about like, the mini Maru toy and this and that, but like she is at the end of the story still just the same character. She's still just the same hard-headed and food-obsessed character. So she didn't grow, but nothing about her was like, it brought me my opinion down or anything. So like ultimately, I like her. I do think she fit well into the story as well. I think uh, her existence is fine within the story. I actually think like there would be somewhat of a negative repercussion if she was removed the story, as opposed to like Leon, who like if you remove him, nothing changes overall. But yeah, so that's I like Angie Yonaga, the ultimate artist from Danganronpa V3. Um, dislike. It kind of bounces between dislike and hate actually. But I'm gonna go with dislike because there is a thing that V3 does with its characters, and Danganronpa as a whole does overall, where like characters will fall into a flanderization of themselves. But V3 is every single character. The majority of the characters just start out as flanderized versions of a concept. For Angie, it's her god, Atua. I had to think about that for a second. And the character will not shut up about Atua. There's literally nothing else but Atua. And that was the problem with V3 characters as a whole, is like, outside of their one specific joke trait, there's nothing more to the character. There is ultimately nothing more to Angie outside of Atua. Like, she comes from a small island that's likely Polynesian, who worships the god Atua. They have orgies or something, and she's just a weird manic pixie dream girl who's obsessed with the god who may or may not exist, and she attributes all of her creative accomplishments to that god. And it's not only is it just annoying as a trait within the story, but the kind of character that it's like mimicking and maybe even mocking out of real life is not the kind of fucking character I want. I don't need to be reminded of those types of people from the real world. Like, I don't need to be reminded of them because they annoy me in the real world. Why are you making me be annoyed in this story? But otherwise, I don't find her funny. I don't find her humorous. she would have a couple lines here and there, but like for the most part, she is a jokey character that whose jokes don't land for me. Um, but there was potential with her, so that's why she's not going to be in hate. Because in the third chapter, which is a chapter where she dies, she takes on the role of antagonist, basically, where she becomes the antagonistic force that you are up against for the daily life part of the chapter until she is eventually killed. And I think if that was played into earlier instead of being like the, oh, it's this character's time to shine. Now here's all this stuff with her. Like, so basically, she forms a cult within the thing. I can't remember what they were called. It had something to do. It was school related, I think. Student council club or something like that, I think. But yeah, she starts a cult with Himiko, um, Tenko, Kibo, and someone else. Maybe it was Gonta. It was. Oh, Samugi, and yeah, she eventually gets Gonta as well. Yeah. That's right. Um, Cause I remember the CG of her hugging them to her chest, whatever. Um, but yeah, she starts forming that cult, and she's an antagonist, of course. If they had started that earlier on, even as late as chapter two, beginning of chapter two, where like she truly starts forming it, I think that would have been a good direction. That was something unseen from this series before. It would have been something really cool, really unique, really interesting if they had, held off from that killing. Like in chapter two, she starts forming the cult. In chapter three, she gets a couple more members, and then maybe in chapter four is when like it's full force, and then she dies there. That would have been cool. So she's in dislike for her potential instead of hate. Because I could have very easily thrown her in hate. I just don't like the character as a whole, but there was potential to have an interesting story. So that's why she's there. Next up is Byakuya Togami, the ultimate affluent progeny. Yeah, progeny from Danganronpa 1. Uh, I love the character. Like, first of all, I love characters who are pricks, who are assholes, who are just unrepentant bastards, and that's Togami. He does mellow out and change like throughout the series, all the things he's in, and like, but like he's still an asshole. Is just that like instead of just being an asshole, he becomes our asshole, right? He is the hater of the year. He's so much fun, and he's a really good antagonistic force, especially for the first game of the series, where like the first game is fairly grounded compared to the rest of the series. And he is a pretty grounded character. His background, makes sense for who he is. His ultimate status makes sense for who he is. His and his attitude, his relationship with all the characters is just golden. It is golden. I loved seeing him interact with characters, especially like early on. With characters who would later on die. I and like so he wouldn't have a lot of interactions with them, but like in chapter two it was with like him and Mondo like butting heads. I thought that was fun. Him and Asahina butting heads. His mockery of Hiro, and especially the Toko dynamic with him. It's just so much fun. It's great. And then yeah, his little mini rivalries with Makoto and Kyoko I thought was great. Him getting his like mental comeuppance in chapter 4 because he thought he knew the entire case and everything, and then he didn't know shit. I thought was amazing. Was peak writing for that. He's a great character. I love him. And importantly, I understand why you wouldn't like him. I understand why you would hate this character, actually. I could understand why, like, instead of being love, he would be in hate for you, which I think is also a great character. I think that makes a great character when, like, you have a personal feeling on that character, but it's also easy to see why someone wouldn't. Like, if Akane, for instance, if someone put Akane in their top five, I would not be able to understand why. But I also wouldn't be able to understand why you would hate her, right? Like, not enough of the character for that. But Byakuya, yeah, I could see, I love him. I could see why he would be in your top five. I could see why you would hate him. I could even see why you would be indifferent to him. Like, he is that kind of character. And I think that is, like, the best kind of character to have. Gotta get some water. Oh, man. Talking too much. Next up is Celestia Ludenberg, or Yasuhiro. No, something Yasuhiro. I can't remember her government name, but she is the ultimate gambler from Danganronpa 1, who. Uh. Let me think. I'm going to say I am mostly indifferent to her. Were things I liked, things that I didn't like about her. Actually, I'll say there's more things I dislike about her. But they aren't necessarily big enough impacts, unlike Angie, for me to like bump her down. It's she was a fine character, the lying gambler, fine trope. When she would snap, it was kind of funny. When she would berate Hifumi, it was great. But the biggest thing with this character was in chapter 3, which was her kill chapter, where they just made her one of the dumbest characters in the entire series for no fucking reason. Like, this is a character who is the ultimate gambler. It's never lost a bet or some shit like that, right? It's like beat like legends and fables of gambling worlds and universes and shit, right? And yet she is incapable of lying to these fucking however many 10 or so degenerates that are left. Like, it was so easy to figure her out immediately, and I just never understood why they wrote her like that, because like it's one of those things where you just like hype a character up so much for something, and then you just fail to deliver on what you were hyping up. Like, it's almost like you didn't even try, because like at no point was she like in chapter 2. It took a little bit of legwork to figure out it was Mondo, right? In chapter 4, it took a little bit of legwork to figure out that it was a suicide. In the future games, it took a little bit of legwork to figure out it was this and this and this. But like for Celeste, it was just easy, because like she was just it was obvious she was lying, and this, and like it was just really bad character writing, almost character assassination. Like, not quite at that level, but like close to it. Uh, but despite that, that was one chapter that like was bad, but like it wasn't necessarily the character; it was the overall writing around the character. So like, I don't hold it to the character too much. But outside of that, there's also like nothing I care about the character for. Like, she wasn't funny. She wasn't particularly interesting. The most interesting thing about her was her interactions with Byakuya, where like I think it was chapter 2 where she was like suggesting they team up or some shit, and like he was like, no, that was funny. But outside of that, like, yeah, I didn't care about her just character existing in general. She did nothing for me or the story. Next up is Chiaki. I don't remember her last name actually. The Ultimate Gamer from Danganronpa 2, slash Danganronpa 3 because the character, and I don't think there's another like version of her in here, so I'm going to count them both together, and I will put in like. So in Danganronpa 2, it turns out like she is an AI programming that was made by Chihiro. Also, alter egos in the non-character because alter ego is not an actual character. But Chiaki was that version of Chiaki was an AI created by Chihiro and a couple other people, based off of the real Chiaki. And but like obviously you don't learn that until like chapter 5 of the game. Mm, no, chapter, yeah, because you find out you're in a right because they already knew they were in a virtual world, obviously. So yeah, she was the traitor by being AI. Yeah, sorry, I had a brain fart right there. But so but like throughout the story, she was she was a good character. She was kind and caring. She smart but not like in your face over the top smart. She would say like certain things and like there at the end by the end you're kind of like, okay, well, was it the character or was it the programming that was like this or whatever. Her trope of being, lazy or not lazy but sleepy all the time was fun. And then in Danganronpa 3, you do see that kind of was like the character as a whole. And like the kind caring thing. She was like almost a mother hen to the rest of her class, to the point where like her death is the reason that the rest of the class spiraled into remnants of despair. Uh, and you can believe that given the interaction with her, even within just 12 episodes, you could really see that. And I thought that, it's really hard to make a genuinely fully good character and make them like believable and make them like one that's interesting at the same time. But like they managed it with her. I thought they did well. Like I said, her gimmick was fun. She had fun interactions with all the characters. She was useful in trials, interesting in trials and investigations. Not a lot to say on her because like she is a character that is like mostly nice, mostly good, and you typically don't have a lot to say about that. But like I think it was done well within that story, stories even, and yeah. So and the twist was fun. Yeah, all around decent character. Next up is Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer from Danganronpa 1, who this is probably going to. This could potentially be my most controversial opinion in this entire tier list, but indifferent. I am indifferent to Chihiro. Uh, the the main thing about Chihiro is actually outside of the actual character, where there is a huge like debate even to this day about like whether Chihiro represents trans or not. I have to look at. Well, I'm not going to get too deep into the topic to begin with, but I look at the character and the story around the character as the writing intends it to be, which is just a male character who dressed up as a girl to hide away from bullies, and that's it. That is it. That's what the writing wants that to be. So that's what it is to me. So outside of that, Chihiro is, well, actually not outside of that. So outside forces, by the by, within canon, within the story, Chihiro does that because he doesn't believe he's strong. He thinks he's weak, because he can't stand up for himself and this and that and whatever. And he's actually not around very long within the story as a whole. He dies in chapter 2. But like even in that short span of time, there is a character arc with him. You start off, this meek character and whatever, who like by the by their time of death is actively trying to improve themselves and actively trying to become stronger. Like it might be like the shortest amount of like character arc packed within a character in this series. There's characters who live until the very end of their game and don't improve as characters. Kenshiro Akane. So that's like really good. It is really good writing, right? It is genuinely good writing. But like for that, there's not really a good reason for the character to be that way. Whereas like I'll point out to Akane again, because Akane, Akane's background and like everything you learn about her with her family and her history and like the likely assaults. Uh, there's a reason for her to be the way she is, both in reality and like internally, and how she becomes around in despair. Chihiro, like there is like obviously they were bullied as a kid, but like you don't really get much more than that, and I guess technically you don't need much more than that. But I don't feel like there was a good justification for it to be that way. Um, and more to the point is like the actual like character story of that doesn't resonate with me specifically. Because I am a cis male. So like the characters, not characters, fuck me. The people who resonate the most with Chihiro are typically trans people. Because this story is partially like what they go through and everything. So like this is a character that I could understand why they would be up here for you or even down here for you if you don't like their representation, even though it's not actual representation. But like for me, it was that was whatever. And then outside of like that though is like the actual character. Meh, is not much of a character. Like they are the kind, gentle, caring character done how it's typically done, and that's just in a boring, bland, nothing way. The meekness is not interesting to me. I don't know. The characters just they exist for me. But I do think as opposed to like Celeste, where like my opinions actually it's funny. All three of these represent like this category to its maximum for me. Like Leon is the epitome of indifferent to me. I don't care one or the other. Celeste was like more negative opinion than positive, but like still not enough for me to like bump down. While Shihiro is actually more positive, but not enough for me to bother bumping down. Had to take care of my cats yelling at the door for no reason. Uh, I don't remember what I was talking about, so we'll move on to Chisa something, the ultimate teacher from the Danganronpa 3 anime. Just the absolute epitome of indifferent, like Leon, because like honestly, I could almost put them into like non-character because like she was almost not a real character. Like genuinely, she she existed in the first episode as like girlfriend of gonna call him Kyosuke because I don't remember his name, um, and like honestly, just like no character. There is no character to this character. Like they just exist. That's it. That's all they do. They exist. They are the reason that the Future Foundation people get put into a killing game because she was secretly a remnant of despair, and like her entire thing is like the epitome of what was wrong with DR3 because like just nothing. Moving on. Uh, Next up is Bandai from DR3, the Ultimate Farmer, who I am just gonna. Oops. I'm actually debating now. Because, like, if Chisa is a non character, Bandai is even more of a non character. But I'm going to just put in dislike because I will put him in dislike as a um, kind of like encapsulation of the DR3 anime as a whole, where I would put it in dislike because, again, he has no character. He is not a character. He's not even a plot device. He's the first character who dies. Chisa, Chisa or Bandai are the first characters who die in DR3, and like you learn nothing about him throughout, like later on within the anime. Like you literally don't learn. You learn about Chisa. You don't learn shit about him. He is nothing. He does not exist. He's not a real thing. He's not a real character. Uh, Honestly, the only reason he's in dislike then, besides being the encapsulation of DR3, is because in the English dub, they went with a obnoxious joke voice for him, and I wanted to punch the screen when I heard it. Uh, Next up is Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu from Danganronpa 2, the ultimate Yakuza. Top 5. He is a top 5 character for me within the series of Danganronpa. He is one of the best written characters in the entire series. He has a full on character arc that completely 100% makes sense throughout the entire series. From episode one, from the prologue where you hear him to when in episode 1 where you meet him, to all the way to the end of episode 6, full arc that was very well written because like he starts off with like standoffish, mean brat, right? Who like hates everyone, who hates everything. And because of his past and everything, he's a yakuza. He has to, be like this. He has to have this front up, and like and that was just how he was in the entire chapter 1. And then chapter 2, the motive ties directly into him and a few other characters, which I'll just give a brief opinion on. I thought that was a great idea, a great concept actually. Is like the motive doesn't have to encapsulate everyone on the island. Like it's fine to encapsulate just a few people if you think it'll get one of them to kill. Anyway, and like he is the reason Mahiru ends up dying, and you learn throughout the past, and then also in the DR3 anime that he is involved in like a few different things. So he has a sister Natsumi who's in this list, I think, and she fights with a girl named Sato who is friends with Mahiru, and then like that entire group of girls there, and like Natsumi like it often bullies Mahiru, who Sato's in love with, and it got to the point where Sato ended up killing Natsumi. So Fuyuhiko, being a yakuza and everything, like whether he did it himself or he had Peko do it, Sato was killed, and that, and then like that's the whole thing with like Mahiru and that thing, and like that comes to a head in chapter 2 of Danganronpa 2, and in that Peko is the one that kills Mahiru, and Peko is like Fuyuhiko's bodyguard. You don't learn that until this point, and they're also in love with each other, and then but because Peko did it, she gets executed, and like that completely changes Fuyuhiko. He runs into the execution. The only time you ever really see something like that, and he gets hurt because of it. And then when he gets out of it, he's a changed person, and you see him slowly struggle, but come to his own in like in a way that like makes sense. He starts opening up to people more. He apologizes to people. He apologized to Hiyoko. He has this great arc, and I think something that like doesn't get, it I don't think is commonly seen is that like he grows into a leader within that story. Like he's not the protagonist, so like he does still take a sideline in the game itself, but his attitude, his outlook the way he talks to people, it it encapsulates a leader, and so like he then actually like truly earns the title of Ultimate Yakuza as well. I think it was great. And then outside of just all of that, he's also funny. He had fun interaction with all the characters. He's just one of the best. Probably the best written character in the series as a whole. Let me get some water. How long is this? Oh, 40 minutes. Oh, we are. Oh, we are. Oh, boy. No, not Toko. Genocide Jack. I hate this character. Like, most people hate the character because it's a horrendous representation of what is it called? What is it called? The mental condition. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. The official term of it. But like a split personality, right? She's a horrendous representation of that. She is not an interesting character. She actively ruins the story. Like actively ruins the story. Ruins every scene she is in. Ruins Toko's character as a whole. Um, like she doesn't even like in the final trial of the first. Oh yeah, Genocide Jack's the ultimate serial killer from Danganronpa 1. In the last trial of the first game, like Toko doesn't even get to actually be there because it's fucking Genocide Jack, and like she, yeah, she just actively ruins everything. She's not funny. She's not a funny character. She's not an interesting character. I hate her presence on screen. It's just awful. It would have been the story would have been better without her existence as a whole. They could have also just done Toko's story better. And you know what? I'm actually gonna talk about it right here. Bring her up, and I will put Toko in like now. So first of all, in regards to Danganronpa one, that as a section, Toko was actually in dislike. Well, Genocide Jack was still in hate because like they did her dirty in it. The only good thing about the character was like her love obsession with Byakuya was funny sometimes, but like otherwise it was a bad character, choice for characterization, and they could have just done it better. Where like, you know, instead of having some kind of fucking personality disorder where she has a fucking serial killer identity, she was just a serial killer, or like she would tap into tap into her psyche, like not a fucking tongue drilling demon type shit, but like she would purposely like change her psyche to be able to do these things or anything. That would have been a better character. Instead, they just got dog shit. I was mad she survived until the end. I actively mad about that. But Alter Despair Girls, say what you want about a lot of it, it did wonders in rehabilitating the Toko character. She became likable in that game. Her friendship with Kamaru was great. Her obsession with Byakuya was toned down enough so that it was still funny, but it wasn't obnoxious to see on screen. It did so well for her. And then like uh, her background, her story, it makes sense. She is who she is. I'll give them that. But like, yeah, if it was just off of one, yeah, the character would be in dislike. But Watchtower Girl is rehabilitated, so I like the character now. At the end of the day, I'm gonna try to start speedrunning through this shit because like, my god, Gonta Gakahara. I said Chihiro was gonna be my most controversial, but Gonta could be second most. He's the ultimate entomologist. I think that's the word. Bug, um, bug guy, from Danganronpa V3, and he's going in dislike. I don't like him. Characters who talk in the third person and are just jokes off of Tarzan are really fucking obnoxious to me. I don't enjoy them in any media ever. And his entire characteristic is, remember, every V3 character has just one trait, and they are that trait forever and ever and ever. His one trait is that he wants to be a gentleman, and he was raised by wolves, and I think it was wolves. It might have been like some other animal, but it was like some fucking animal. I don't care. And he wants to be a gentleman, and his stuff isn't funny. There's just nothing funny about him as a whole, and he is one of the prime examples of why I think the writing as a whole in V3 was bad. Not just the character, but like his murder. He was the killer, but like it took all the agency away from the character. The way that it was written, it was terrible. And like taking the agency away from a character trying to do this and trying to be sympathetic, um, is bad writing. And I found his, third person speak, his gentleman things. I just found them to be annoying. He occasionally had a funny moment here and there. Kokichi manipulating him was an interesting dynamic, but overall, I did not enjoy the character. I found him to be obnoxious to be around. Next up is the Great Bull, I think is his full name. The Ultimate Wrestler from Danganronpa 3. I want to put him in like because I liked what we saw of the character, but it just like Bandai and just like Chisa, there wasn't anything to him. I think the three anime had a thing where it was trying to like kill off characters. Just I don't know how well that picked up or not, but they were trying to just kill characters quickly and everything. So like basically he was like properly introduced by saving Makoto and I think Asahina, but then he just dies at either that episode or the next episode, and like it was just a waste of time. The character could have been very interesting. I love the design of the character. That's something I haven't talked about, is the design of characters, because for the most part it hasn't really like factored into anything for me, like negative or positive. But like I really like the design of him. I thought he could have been fun. I love luchadors. I remember the wrestler from the Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon. The bull reminded me of him. I thought it was fun, but there just isn't enough of a character to put it outside of indifferent. In all honesty. Next up is Gundam Tanaka, the ultimate breeder from Danganronpa 2, who is my favorite character in the entire series. I fucking love Gundam. I love him. And like, it's funny because at the beginning of the game, I was annoyed by him. Um, Especially in chapter one, he was annoying. How he wouldn't help and everything, and like I'd never heard of a Chuyomi, whatever that term is called, before. I never encountered it in any media before, and I found it obnoxious. But like, it was funnily enough chapter four that like solidified his character, his actual character, and solidified him like as one of my favorites. Because like he, so he killed Mekamaru in chapter four, and he, you know, it wasn't like a malicious thing. He did it to help people overall, but it was because of his philosophy, where like to give up is worse than dying. And so like he fought Mekamaru, which a little we gotta like suspend our disbelief quite a bit there. But yeah, he fought Mekamaru, he won with his hamsters, and like during the trial he might be like he wasn't malicious or anything, but like he was obviously going to try and stay alive. And like I don't know, I thought that was fun. I thought that was interesting. But then like that chapter also gave me a retrospect of the character, and then also later on when you learn about the remnants of despair, where like, yeah, his interactions with the characters were actually very fun. They were very funny, but they were also very well written. Like his, the subtle or like the mutterings he would have with people like Hajime or stuff. I thought was fun. His dynamic with Sonya was peak. That is my one of my top two favorite ships within the series. Okay, I can say top three. Fuyuhiko Peko, um, Makoto Kyoko, and then Gundam Sonya. His rivalry with Kazuichi was great. Yeah, his interactions is great. His backstory, makes sense. I love his hamsters, the four dark devas of destruction. Great shit right there. The Chuny stuff, like it grew on me. It grew on me. I fucking ended up loving it. He's my favorite character in the series. Next up is Hajime Hinata, the ultimate question mark from Danganronpa 2. I need to check something real quick within this list because I don't think Izuru is in here actually. No, he is. Okay. Perfect. So then Hajime Hinata goes into love. He is my favorite protagonist of all of the games. I love his like sarcastic, like done with this shit attitude he has throughout the series. My favorite being like his attitude towards Nagito was fucking peak. I loved it. Because like, yeah, I mean, he is a nice guy and everything, but like, he has his limits and everything, and he's not afraid to like call out people on their bullshit. I mean, mostly to himself, but like he will also just call people out on their bullshit to them. I love that. I love that as a character. His actual his backstory, fantastic stuff. He was just a nobody. He spent a ton of money to become a reserve corps student. He then goes under the ultimate hope program to like try to be something. I thought that his story was great there. I also love like his interactions in the DR3 anime as well. Like his interaction with Chiaki was great. I actually really loved his interactions with Natsumi. I genuinely wish we had gotten more of that as well because I thought that was fun. But like his character work. Because I said if he was a wrestler, his character was like very well done. Very relatable and um, realistic to an extent, right? A guy who just like wants to be something, right? He just wants to be something. I thought that was really good. Yeah, no, he's my favorite protagonist. I like him. I love him actually. Yeah. Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate comic book artist from Danganronpa 1. So he is a pretty big example of the translation stuff between Japanese and English, where like a lot of these people were different. You know, somewhat to like a big degree. You look at like Mikon, who's like English ultimate nurse, but it was like in Danganronpa to or like in the Japanese version, she was just like ultimate uh like medical training student or some shit like that, right? But like in Japanese, Hifumi is the ultimate doujin artist. Which if you don't know what a doujin is, I don't know the exact specifications of it, but it's like hentai artist or something like that, right? So very big difference between that and oh wait, no, he's not the ultimate comic. He's the ultimate fanfic author in English, right? He's going in dislike anyway. His entire character is that he's fat and a nerd, and he's a loser that you need to point at and laugh at because he's a dork. He's worthless. It's not funny. Genuinely, like his entire character exists to be mocked, and it's not funny. It's not interesting. Uh, there are interesting aspects to the character, though. That's why he's not in hate. Because I think back to like in chapter 2 of the first game, he and Toko argue about writing, about like what is real writing, what isn't, and everything. And I really enjoyed that, and like gave an actual aspect to the character. There's also a point where like I think it's during his during his free time events, which I haven't touched on at any point during this as well, like people's free time events again because it doesn't really change much outside because like a lot of times free time events don't change the character. Like you learn more about them and their history and their backstory. Like that's where talk about like Gunner's backstory, Fuyuhiga's backstory, all that. But like outside of that, it doesn't change their character. At some point, like they just made Hifumi an incel during the free time events as well, which was a choice to have. He's also obsessed with like 2D girls, but he wants to get Dami Mami'd by Celeste. Sure, man, sure. I mean, goth chicks are hot, what can I say? But the character is just, he's comic relief. He's, again, another character who is comic relief that isn't funny. Because the joke is just that you're supposed to laugh at the fact that he's a fat, dorky, dweeby little bitch. Like, and that's not funny. That's not interesting to me. Up next is Himiko something or another, the ultimate magician from Danganronpa V3. Dislike. I don't like her. Once again, V3's obnoxious. Character is a single trait that is their character forever and ever and ever. She's lazy, and she insists that what she does is not trickery, but it's real magic. And it gets real old, real fast, especially, I say especially in chapter 2, that's literally the second chapter of the game. Her insistence that she's doing real magic, to the point where, like, at no point does she let up that it was a trick. Literally, at no point does the character finally say, okay, everyone's lives are on the line, let's riddle it back a bit. No, the character's the same. And then you could be like, oh, well, she gets some character progression after Tenko dies, but she doesn't. She is still lazy, which I don't care about that part, but like she still insists that it's all magic. She is still annoying. She's a very annoying character. One of the most annoying in the series. And she lived until the end. If she died in chapter 2, I would not dislike the character as much as I do. I would probably put her indifferent, maybe even like, because she has funny moments. She can be very funny at times, but she lives too long. She becomes extremely annoying. She doesn't have a real character arc. She doesn't have real character progression. Her character progression is similar to that of Akane, and you could be like, well, you put Akane in like and Himiko's in dislike. Yeah, but like, it's my opinion, man. Yeah, I didn't like her. She's annoyed me. Aoi Asahina, or Hina, the ultimate swimmer from Danganronpa 1. I'm gonna put her in like, she, she's a character that doesn't really, she has some character progression after Sakura dies, and the reason she wouldn't be in love is because so she basically tries to kill everyone in chapter 4 because she knew Sakura killed herself, but then she was like trying to frame it as like, oh, this person did, but actually I did it, and wanted everyone to die because she blamed everyone for Sakura's death and all this and all of that. And the problem is that she suffered no consequences whatsoever. Everyone just immediately forgave her for trying to kill them all, which, bad writing. However, outside of that, she's fine. She's fine as a character. She's one of the dumb comic relief characters that all the games have. She's one of the ones that survives to the end. I mean, she's very similar to Akane, but she is a comic relief character that actually was funny at times, and also had like interesting moments, like when she smacked the shit out of Byakuya. That was fun, right? That was fun. I liked her dynamic with Sakura. She she didn't get on my nerves. Outside of chapter 4 when she tried to kill me, she didn't get on my nerves at all or anything like that. She was fine, and then I actually really like her in DR3 as well, where she like takes it upon herself to basically save Makoto a lot. She really steps up as a character, and I really enjoyed that as well. So yeah, like she's just a likable character. She's fun, without being grating at any point. Next up is the one MILF in the series, Hiroko. Uh, Hiroko. I'm trying to remember Hiro's name. Like, is Yasuhiro his last name? No, Yasuhiro is his first name. What was his last name? I don't remember. Hiroko something or another. She's Hiro's mom. She's a hot MILF. I'll put her in love for that. She's from Ultra Spirit Girl. She does have a character. She is like a very cool, calm, collected person. You can tell from like talking with her throughout. She has like quite a history. That it is interesting, and like she really loves her son, which I'll tell my thoughts on Hero in a bit, but like also it's like it's very wholesome, right? Like one of the few like wholesome things within the series. A series that's very big on his debauchery and everything. Like a wholesome character, and hot milf. What more can you say? Hero can go straight into just like so he was Yasuhiro, the ultimate clairvoyant from Danganronpa 1, was fun for a time, but then in chapter 5, when you have to argue with him about Kyoko being a ghost, made me so fucking angry. Like, genuinely mad. Because that was like 30 plus minutes of arguing with this dumbass character over that bullshit. And like, unlike a lot of the other comic relief characters on that list and like down here still, I actually found a lot of his stuff to be funny. Like a lot of his sentences was funny. His character, like, you know, the occult is bullcrap, but I believe in it. I've been abducted by aliens, and like, this is real, and all this. It was like genuinely a very funny character trope for it. But it got to the point where they flanderized him in the game so badly that like he became unbearable, and he lives until the end, and like it was really awful. Like the reason he's not in hate is because like he does, in chapter 6 he does get better at least, and then also in the Spare Girl side story with Canon he's fine. But like I'm never going to get over having to argue with him in chapter 5 about Kyoko being a ghost. Like I was genuinely so mad. I was so mad I was wasting my time on that shit. Like everything else, like his character outside of that, like aside, like I was so fucking annoyed. I was, ugh, it just ruined what was otherwise a fine character. If it wasn't for that section of the game, he would probably be in like. Next up is Hyoko Saionji, the ultimate traditional dancer from Danganronpa 2. So, I get the character. I do get the character. I get her backstory. I do think it's a good backstory. I think it's a fitting backstory. It's gone on an hour. I do think it. However, I hate the character a lot, so much. I hate every interaction you would have with her. I hated her free time events as well, and the only saving grace to stop her from going into hate is that she was funny at times. The mean shit she would say to like Mikan or Fuyuhiko, or like just the random shit to other characters like Kazuichi was funny. I enjoyed it at times, but the character made me very mad. All the time, and like it's a very famous thing within the game where like they try to start her off on a character arc. After Mahiru, her big sister dies. The writing is trying to get her to become more of a character, but then it gets cut short because she dies in chapter two or chapter three, and everyone hates it because she should have been given justice or whatever. Well, like A, I didn't want her to live longer, but B, that's fine. Like genuinely, that's fine writing. Like honestly, that's good writing. Like not every character gets to finish their arc. Not every human gets to finish their arc in reality. Not every character gets to finish their arc, and I thought that was really good. Like, in Danganronpa 1, Leon and Sayaka don't have arcs. Mondo and Chihiro's start theirs and finish theirs in chapter 2. Taka gets weird, I guess. I'll go into that later. Taka gets weird. That's whatever. Oh, that reminds me of that. But like I don't know, I honestly was fine with that. Not just because I hate her, but like I thought that was fine writing. Um, my throat is killing me. I'm recording this after I did an 8-hour shift in retail. Like, yeah, my throat hurts. But yeah, so I don't know, I get the character. I do, and I get why people like the character. I do. I just I can't. She was too obnoxious for me because like that kind of character in real life, I hate. I hate this kind of person in real life. I despise them, and like to have them in my game, I was like, it was not good for me. Real quick, I see Ishimondo here. Is regular Taka anywhere? I don't see regular Taka. Um, yeah, he's down there. Okay, so I'm putting this in not character. That's not a fucking character. Like, no. Anyway, next up is Ibuki Im- uh, Imoda? Imodia? I can't remember her full last name. It's something like that. The ultimate musician from Danganronpa 2. A lot of people love her. Like, genuinely, they love her. I'm indifferent. Honestly, I'm more negative on her because, like, again, she's a super energetic character, and it was too much for me. It was genuinely too much for me. However, I don't think the character is bad. Like, I can be like, oh, Gonta's character was bad. Himiko's character was bad. Genocide Jack was written horrendously. But, like, I actually think Ibuki is a really good character. She's really well written. She performs her role perfectly. And I fully understand why people love her. I really do. But, like, she is such a manic energy that it wore me down very quickly. I could not handle too much of her. And, like, again, I think she's a fine character. I just personally couldn't handle it. Like, I'm a very low energy, laid back kind of person. So, like, people with this much energy in general just, like, wear me thin very quickly. And, like, in the video game, yeah, it was a little bit too much. I'll admit, it was a little bit too much. But otherwise, I do think she's a good character. Like, don't jump on me. Like, this one, I'll defend myself on. Like, I'm not gonna defend myself on like Hiyoko or Gonta, but like Ibuki, I do think is a good character. It just was not a character for me. Next up is the Ultimate Imposter, who is the Ultimate Imposter from Danganronpa 2. He does not have a real name. He's just an imposter. He has no real identity. You actually learn more about him in DR3. Which, but yeah, so like he's just like Byakuya. He goes into the game as the ultimate affluent progeny, Byakuya Togami, except fat. It was a very very funny visual gag. I'm not gonna like. I've watched like let's plays of the games before, and like my own opinion was like, what the fuck is happening here? Yeah, no, it was fun. It was very enjoyable. But the actual character, he is a leader. He is what Byakuya wishes he was. But he steps up. He takes charge in a proper way, in a proper like team building way. He is, a good guy character. And then like DR3 expand on it more, where like you learn like he just wants to like fit. He wants to fit in. He wants to be in a group. He like helps Ryotai out, and I don't know. I just think he was a good character. I think he was well written as well. Again, backstory. I'll say this for like all the DR2 characters. Backstory was great. Makes sense and makes sense in the world of Danganronpa. I think the gag of this big fat guy being the ultimate imposter is very excellent. Is very peak. I love him. I love his food obsession as opposed to like Akane's, where like he's like, no, you need to eat because you need to be fat. You need fat on your bones for the cold winters and whatever. And like it made sense, but it was also funny. I thought it was a great combination. I really liked the character. Next up is Izuru, the ultimate hope from DR2. It's just I don't. I'm putting him in non-character. Actually, I don't really have much to say about him. He is he is an actual character as opposed to the other ones, but like, man, I got nothing to say about him. Like, the interactions he has in the Danganronpa S Ultimate Board Game camp, Ultimate Summer Camp, that board game was fun. I just don't fucking care, man. I just don't care. Next up is Jotaro, the ultimate little artist from Ultra Despair Girls, who in the first chapter was my favorite of the little kids. But then became super fucking annoying when it was his turn to shine. His whole "oh woe is me" gimmick. Well, so first off, I'll start with the backstories for all the little kids. Amazing, amazing in like horrific ways, right? Because they were all realistic traumas and tragedies kids face all the time. One of whom I had similar experiences as. Uh, so yeah, Jotaro wears that hideous mask. He's like a gory little kid. He wants to be hated because his mother hates him. Uh, likely she had post mortem mortem whatever that mental health thing, and like hated him because of it, and like made him think he was ugly and worthless and all this and all that, and like it is a great character work, but he's really annoying. He's like really annoying, guys. Like guys, he's really annoying. He talks so slow. It was driving me insane. The cutscenes with him in the Ultra Star Girls game, like you can just fast forward what he was saying. I was going insane. He is really annoying. Also, like it got drove to death. Like, oh, you need to hate me. If you hate me, that means you love me. If you it got really annoying. I'll say. Next up is Junko Enoshima, the ultimate despair or fashionista from Danganronpa 1. Look, I fucking love her, man. What can I say? I fucking love her. Character makes no sense. There is no reason for her to be the way she is. There's no reason for this character to exist as it does. And she is like, just a pure chaotic evil character, like that usually isn't good, but guys, it's just fun, man. She's just fun, bro. She's just fun. I enjoyed everything with her in Danganronpa 1 and 2, and even 3, the anime. It was so, and Ultra Spiritual, a little bit you have of her there. It was so fun. She's so guys. She's so fun. Yes, her being the ultimate despair because she's bored makes no fucking sense. I get it. Her brainwashing all these people doesn't make sense. I get it, but it's fun, and that's what this That's what everything is about. It's about the fun. She's fun. I love her. I love her to death. Like genuinely just love her. She in most media, I would hate this kind of character because like it doesn't make sense. It's just a pure evil character. Blah blah blah. She's fun though. Uh, yeah, that's all I'll have to say. Next up is Juzo. Oh my god. Juzo something, the Ultimate Boxer from the DR3 anime. I actually like him. I actually genuinely like him. His character makes sense. He is. I'll say this. He is the only confirmed homosexual character in the series. Because I know the fandom likes to be like, oh, Nagito's so clearly gay, and oh, Kamaru and Toko are so gay for each other and everything, but like, nothing's canon. Most of the ships people have aren't even canon. Like, Makoto Kyoko, Sonya Gundam, and Fuyuhiko Peko are like the closest to canon you can really get for the ships. Like, you know, Akane Nekamaru is not even close to canon, but people anyway. Uh, and I think, but anyway, I that was a tangent. I think his closeted homosexuality was done surprisingly well for a series like Danganronpa. And like, there's not to shit on Kodaka. I will shit on Kodaka if I ever like give it a review of the games as a whole. But not to shit on him or any of the other writers from the series, but like, I would not expect Danganronpa to do a story like that well, but I think they really did. So he is in love with Kyosuke. Well, I'm not even sure that's his name, but like, yeah. So Juzo is in love with Kyosuke, secretly, and like it it makes sense for the character to be the way they are now because like he's a closeted homosexual, so like he has a lot of regress feelings, and like he's a very angry individual, right? And like that is one of the things that can happen when you like hide yourself for so long is like this intense rage and everything. Um, and his involvement with the whole despair thing makes sense, unlike someone else's, because like Junko found out. Don't ask how. She's fucking Junko, baby. But she found out. She blackmailed Juzo. He obviously agreed because he didn't want it going out. And so that's how that happened. So he's not like a remnant of despair, unlike Chisa somehow. But like he helped out, and then he tries to correct that mistake. But obviously fails in that. And then in the three anime, I don't quite remember how he dies or what leads to it, unlike some of the other characters, because he lasts towards the end. I don't remember what exactly happened, because like most of the characters that they introduce don't survive. Like the majority of them don't survive. And Juzo doesn't, but I don't know. I thought the character was done surprisingly well for the kind of character. Plus, super biased though, but I used to box. I used to be a boxer, so like the ultimate boxer. I was always gonna have a soft spot for that. Next up is gonna be Kaede Akamatsu, the ultimate pianist from Danganronpa V3. I like her. She's fine. Yeah, she's fine. Um, I could put her in mostly indifferent, to be honest. But I'm gonna keep her in like because I like the story. Yeah, I like the story around her. Like her as an actual character, she's kind of just the generic nice girl. Kind, caring, whatever. She does have like some sarcasticness to her. She does have like a backbone, unlike most of the other protagonists. Like her getting into it with Miyu was always funny. But like the actual story revolving around her, I thought was great. I won't say a lot, but like there are people out there who don't like the bait and switch that was in chapter one because like you start out playing as Kaede, and then like it turns out at the end she was the one that killed Rentaro. Or she was the one that killed Rentaro, and a lot of people didn't like having that agency taken from them, and that's fine and everything. But I thought it was really good storytelling. For that to happen, I thought it retroactively made her more interesting as well. That she was willing to do that when no one else was, and it had a domino effect that could have been good for the story. Um, so yeah, the story revolving around her I thought was pretty good. She is one of the few characters in V3 that doesn't whose character isn't just a singular trait. She's well rounded for as long as she's around, and had a brutal execution, which is another thing I haven't talked about is people's executions because it doesn't really typically affect how I think of them. There's no character whose execution like really affects what I think or anything. I guess maybe Leon is like adds a positive to him because it was cool, but yeah, she's fine. Character Momota, the ultimate astronaut from Danganronpa V3. Be a man. I fucking dislike. I'll be honest. Given the day, I could also put him in hate. I found him to be unbearable throughout the entire story. From the moment he punches Shuichi to tell him to get over it, I don't like the character, and it's similar to Hyoko, where like I don't like the character because I don't like the kind of person in real life, and I find them to be obnoxious and annoying to exist. I just he was unbearable for so long, and like I think his story wrapped up terribly with Kakichi and the chapter 5 thing, and like his dying from an illness was whatever. I don't care. And actually, you know what? I'll say this: his execution was bad. That was a negative. Uh, his backstory is stupid as fuck, and like the fact like he's just dumb and like I find him annoying. I genuinely find him unbearably annoying throughout the story. Next up is I got so many left. Holy shit. Canon, Leon's cousin. Uh, she's not in here in the novel non-character section because I did play the alternate story, in Ultra Despair Girls, where you learn about her, and I'll I'll put her in. I guess I'll put her mostly indifferent because, like, you know very little about her. But it's definitely an indifference that's leaning towards dislike because, she wants to fuck her cousin. That's her character. She wants to fuck her cousin Leon. Yep, that's a thing. Honestly, fan fiction does wonders for that character because they kind of like turn her more into like liking Yasuhiro, which you can do better, but you can do worse. You can do worse. Next up is Kazuichi Soda, the ultimate mechanic from DR2. He is a character that benefited probably the most beneficially from the retroactive aspect of being Remnants of Despair because I found his original character work to be obnoxious. I did not like him. Um, but learning he was a Remnant of Despair definitely retroactively upgraded him in a bit, but he's still going in mostly indifferent. Yeah, I like his rivalry with Gundam. I think that's fun. I think his obsession with Sonya is disgustingly creepy. His incel vibes are awful. His when he turns on Hajime for that one chapter was obnoxious and nonsensical. But and realistically, out of all the characters, his backstory for him being a remnant of despair was kind of the weakest because it was like, oh, he had shitty friends. Like it wasn't great. But he has his moments, and he was funny at times, and he was useful. So he'll go in mostly indifferent. I'm a The old guy, Tengen, Danganronpa 3, Ultimate something or another. Mostly indifferent. Wasn't he actually a Remnant of Despair too? Now that I think about it, I think so. I think he was. He's not like honestly. The only reason he's not a character is because he was around for several episodes, but like I don't remember anything about him. He left no impact on me. Kibo, the ultimate robot from V3. Robophobia. That's his trait. He's a robot. How interesting. He's a robot that's not good at being a robot, but because he's the only robot, he's the ultimate robot. It was stupid. The character's stupid, but like, there's moments like him stepping up at the end of the game is fun, it's cool. There's some funny moments. Him and Kokichi's rivalry was actually pretty funny. But yeah, it was just another trait that got annoying as shit. Just another trait that got annoying as shit. Kurumi Tojo, the ultimate maid from B3. Um, dislike. I didn't like Kurumi. I really wanted to like her because I loved her design. I thought it was sick. But the character is just a mom and like she just takes care of the group and everything, and then her in chapter 2 was diabolically stupid. It was one of the only reason it was not the worst written murder in this entire series is because chapter 3 of the same game exists, but it was one of those things where you try to one up yourself so much that you just become stupid. The character was written like she's supposed to be a mastermind, where she like generated this whole thing to make people think Ryoma died in a shark tank, but like if she had just drowned Ryoma and then like threw his body outside into the hallway or something, then no one would have figured it out. Literally, no one would have ever figured it out, and she would have gotten away scot free, and it made her character look stupid. Her background was the dumbest background of the entire fucking series, and that's saying something when Gonta was raised by wolves. Like, Kurumi being the fucking actual prime minister is dumb as hell. Oh my god, it was so stupid. She's a prime example of the bad writing of B3, I will say. Just and she's not interesting. She's just not interesting. Like her free time events aren't interesting. Her background isn't interesting. Her character interactions aren't interesting. She had like no fun moments with anyone. She's just an uninteresting character. This guy, I don't remember his name. I do not remember his name. I literally could not tell you his name. I remember fucking Tengen. I don't remember this guy's name. He was friends with Jin Kirigiri, Kyoko's father. I think I said grandfather early in the video, but yeah, Jin's uh, her dad. He was friends with him, and he sacrificed his life to save Kyoko. I think it had to do with the bracelet. Oh yeah, Danganronpa 3 anime. They Future Foundation one. They got bracelets that told them they couldn't do certain actions or they would die, and some people died because of that. And I don't remember what this guy's was, but like he did it in order to save Kyoko at some point, and it was a cool thing. But like just like most of the anime, like the character didn't really exist for most of it. Like he was whatever mostly. Just mostly whatever. Yeah. Next up is Kokichi Oma, the ultimate. What the fuck is his actual stupid ass title? Ultimate Supreme Leader, when he should have been the ultimate liar. And I think he is the worst antagonist in all of the games. I think he would have been a better character if he had just been the ultimate liar. I do think he had good moments with characters, but I think his ending was garbage. His rivalry with Suichi was good, especially because like in that game there's a mechanic where you do perjury and you like intentionally lie during a trial for you know to steer the class the right way. And Kokichi would always pick up on that. Kokichi would always pick up on anyone lying, and it was like a really good little dynamic there. His rivalry with Kaito was garbage because Kaito sucks. Man, you know, yeah, yeah, I'll do that actually. Yeah, I will put Kokichi in like, it is a good thing I'm doing this 5 years after I played the games because if it was like in the same year, Kokichi would be in hate because I did genuinely hate the character for a very long time. He does get annoying at times, but I do think looking at it from like an objective lens as well, he is fairly well written. Like again, being the ultimate supreme leader was bad writing, was stupid, but like I think he was well written. His dynamics with the other characters in the series I think was pretty good. Like with everyone outside of Kaito, I think was pretty good. His whole thing in chapter 5 was dog shit, but like that's a whole separate thing. I think the character is actually fine. Yeah, ultimately I do. Next up is Kamaru Naegi. How I'm putting her in like I guess. Uh, I'm gonna put her in indifferent. Because like she's fine overall, and I do like her. I like her character work, but like she's also very annoying at times. Like her character in just a character sense was fine. Her interaction with Toko and Byakuya and the kids and everything was fine. Her character in the story sense was pretty bad though because like she was stupid. She just wasn't able to grasp anything that was ever happening, which was very annoying as a player, and as a writer because like it just made the character so stupid. So like they kind of cancel each other out into just being indifferent. Honestly, I'm not gonna give my full 100% opinions on the rest of these characters going forward now because like there's still so many left, and I'm at an hour and a half already. This is insane. Next up, Korikyo Shinjuki, something like that. Korekio, Kyo, Ultimate Anthropologist from V3. Ooh, I don't know about this character because the character was really good until chapter 3, where he suddenly became very not good. He is. Oh man, ooh, I could put him in like any of these categories. Genuinely, any of them. Any of them, yeah. Um, um. Oh man, Keo, where are you going, buddy? I'm going to put into. I have to put him in like I have to because like up until chapter 3 he was such a good interesting character. Like he was a creepy guy who's obsessed with like the occult and like anthropology obviously, and like he is so interesting and everything, and like even within chapter 3 where like he could have brought up a very interesting plot story element that Kodaka 100% dropped the ball on. And again, I won't get into it unless I do a full series thing, but maybe I'll rank chapters in the future or something. But then it just assassinated. You want to talk about character assassination? Assassinated Kyo. Suddenly he also has a split personality, and he like has like summoned the spirit of his dead sister who he used to fuck, and it was horrible. It was I I'm gonna put him in different. There, because there's two separate Kios for me. There is the pre chapter 3 Kyo, which was going like, and then there's the post chapter 3 reveal Kyo that would go in dislike. So they're just gonna cancel each other out. He'll go in mostly indifferent. He is he is a character. Next up is Kotoko Usagi, the ultimate little drama from Ultra Spare Girls. I liked the character. I she is she is annoying, but like it makes sense. Like everything about her makes sense given her backstory, and like genuinely like the backstories for the kids are like all none that I actually want to really say on like YouTube. Especially Kotoko. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that. But like it all made sense. And with that in hindsight, like she's a good character. She also comes around. She kind of helps you out towards the end. I think she's all around pretty good, pretty well written. Um, I can't remember his fucking name, but God, he was so fucking obnoxious in Ultra Spur Girls, the fucking Monokuma Black. And you know what? Shirokuma also goes in there. I hated Shirokuma. And you know what? Yeah, actually, no, I won't do that. But I hated these two that are a pair. Hated them. So obnoxious. Beginning of the end for the mascots of this series, for sure. Next up is Kyoko Kirigiri, the ultimate detective from Danganronpa 1 is S tier, top 5 S tier. She is one of my favorite characters of the entire series. I love the archetype that she is. I genuinely do. I think so. Like the archetype of the quiet, stoic, really smart, almost emotionless, but like if you look, you see the emotion archetype is beautiful. I love it so much. It's always been one of my favorites. When it's done well, like it is the Kyoko, it's great. Because like no, like she is stoic, but like she's not emotional. She's not heartless. Look at her interaction with Makoto. Look at like chapter 5. After it's revealed that he, or chapter 4 maybe. After it's revealed that he lied to her, like her reaction to it, it was amazing. She's great. You know, she is a useful character. She is a smart character. Her background is cool and interesting. Her entire mystery is cool and interesting. Her interaction with the characters are great. She is a great character in my opinion. Next up is the person I've been calling Kyosuke. I could look up his name. I could, but I don't care enough. I'm going to keep calling him Kyosuke. Um, I will put him in like actually. That might seem odd because like his character kind of seems like it's dumb, like it's stupid, like he's trying to kill Makoto throughout the DR3 anime, because he is blaming Makoto for what has happened and everything, and it is kind of dumb, but like it makes sense for him. Also, he's the ultimate he is he the ultimate swordsman? Peck was the ultimate swordwoman, so maybe I can't remember now. But anyway, so like yeah, I think I think it made sense for who he is, who he was, and for his fight against despair, it makes sense as well because like he thinks, with what Makoto did with with the remnants of despair and helping them and everything, it made sense to me. I think it was actually a good foil as well within the anime, so I liked him. Next up is Mahiru, the ultimate photographer from DR2. This was a character that originally I didn't like that much, but then I came around on and ended up liking her. Her backstory makes sense. Again, another one of those with DR2. Her character is rough around the edges, but like if she's one of those ones that like once you get past the first initial barrier, like you understand like oh that's a deep character with like a multi-layered, multifaceted character, which you don't get a lot of. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was fun. I loved her dynamic with a lot of the other characters. I will say like her be a man kind of stuff was pretty annoying. But like it also again made sense given her past. So I liked her a lot. Yeah, not a lot, but I liked her. Next up is Maki Harukawa, the ultimate assassin from V3. Um, I liked her. Yeah, I liked her. She's one of the few characters who I from V3 who wasn't a one note, one trait, one trick pony. She started off as one thing, rough around the edges kind of character. She, but then like she grows as a character. She has actual arc and actual development, especially like, when you know, she develops feelings for Kaito. She ends up loving him. That was very interesting, very unique. And then her involvement in the chapter 6, where like she's kind of like the one that's like getting you back into things. I thought was really good. I thought that was really cool. I was a big fan. I thought she was very well written. One of the few well written aspects of V3 was Maki, in my opinion. Next up is Makoto Naegi, who I will put next to his sister. I don't think he's a bad character. I think he's fine for your first protagonist. He's kind of a cookie cutter, bland guy, who has happy-go-lucky attitude. I think for what he is, being like an almost self-insert character, I think he is fine. I think he is fine as an archetypal character in that aspect. But that archetype is kind of just indifferent anyway because it is again just almost not a character, right? He does have like one line where like he just like cusses at Junko and it was so out of pocket. It was so funny. I do like his interaction with like helping the remnants of despair. I thought that was cool. I liked him in the DR3 anime when he like started getting more of a backbone. Um, I love his interactions with a lot of the characters. I think that's great. But like, at the end of the day, his kind of character is just the kind of character that you are indifferent to, ultimately. Next up is Masaru Daimo, the ultimate little PE from Ultra Spare Girls, who I will put in mostly indifferent. There's a lot of him I don't like. You know, he's an annoying brat, but he's also like 10, so it makes sense for him to be an annoying little brat. And then also his background, once again, don't want to get into it on YouTube, but it yeah, he was originally in a dislike. He got bumped up to mostly indifferent though, because yeah, it all makes sense, and like he's one of those characters that like because he disappears after chapter 1, he doesn't live to outstay his welcome or anything, which I think is fine. It saves him. He goes mostly indifferent. Next is Gecko Hara, who isn't an actual character because the Gecko you see in the DR3 anime is actually Monica controlling a puppet doll thing of her, and you don't meet the actual Gecko who's the ultimate psychologist or something. I think you do see her in one of the novels though, so check that out. I guess. Otherwise, yeah, not a real character. Not really. Next up is Mikan Sumiki, the ultimate nurse from DR2, who I will put in mostly indifferent because I found her annoying a lot of the time, but her backstory and the retrospective of her being a remnant of despair and her specific connection to Junko and within the DR3 anime bumps her back up into mostly indifferent, almost into like, because like, wow, it's crazy. So from that, you learn at the towards the end of DR2 that the Remnants of Despair all like try to do various things with Junko. There was like some kind of weird translation thing between the two things, but um, one character at one point tries to insert Junko's uterus into herself, and that you don't learn who did what, but that's believed that that was Mika. You do learn that Nagito tried to sew Junko's hand onto his own. Well, he did, um, and like someone tried to insert her eye into their socket, and all this, and you know, uh, yeah, Mika's fucking crazy. She's fucking yandere crazy, and like it's very interesting like how obsessed she becomes with Junko and in love, and like when she has that this despair disease in chapter 3 of the game, which like a lot of people hate, but like I think it was amazing foreshadowing for Mikan to become the kind of character she did in that. I thought was really good, and made her interesting, as opposed to what was going on before. Um, and then like in DR3, she was the first one brainwashed because like her backstory is like, yeah, Junko very easily be able to touch upon that. I thought it was great. I've talked myself into bumping her up into like, actually, because like I think all of that outweighs how annoying she is in the beginning of DR2, and like her meek demeanor. And actually, something else I just thought about with her is that like during a lot of times with like her free time events, or when she's just like casually talking to other characters at times, like sometimes her real like brainwashed personality slips out, and it's very that was, oh man, DR2 was such good writing. It was such good writing. Next up is Miu Iruma, the ultimate inventor from Danganronpa V3. Um, so this is one of those things where Kodaka not invented, but like created this character to be hated, and then like the fan base ended up loving her like massively because she could be funny at times. But I hate her. It worked on me. I do hate Miyu Aruma. She is a funny character. Don't get me wrong. She has like a lot of very funny moments, but that is very heavily outweighed by her just general creepiness, in my opinion. And like her obnoxious, raunchy. Like, don't get me wrong, I love raunchiness. Like, I am, a fan of raunchy. I am, but like the way it was with Miu was pretty awful. Like, very awful. Her interactions with a lot of. Again, I'm gonna bump her up into dislike, not hate, but like a lot of her interactions with characters were awful. Like her ones with Kokichi were funny, but like her and Shuichi, especially in like the Love Motel. Ugh, very disgusting. And I didn't find her very funny or interesting. Next up is going to be Monica Towa, the ultimate little homeroom. I liked her. I thought she was a good Junko insert for Ultra Despair Girls. Her backstory was very good and interesting with the Toa Foundation and everything. And like DR3 was kind of like a waste with her. I didn't like it really. Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was pointless, but like I think the character as a whole was like pretty decent, pretty fun, and everything. So she goes in there. Mondo Awada, I'm gonna put in love. It's another archetype that I really enjoy. Honestly, I really enjoy that archetype of like rough and tough, like delinquent who's like a badass, but like he's cool, bro. He's cool with you, bro. His and Taka's dynamic was great. I genuinely love that bromance those two had going on. they were gay for each other. They probably fucked in that sauna. Let's be real. Those two fucked in that sauna. Anyway, but yeah, I love the archetype. I love him. And then like what I also enjoyed is like that kind of character work or that kind of archetype. At this point in time, the subversion of that character being like, oh, they're not actually that mean or that bad. They wouldn't actually kill you is like the default of it now. So like him actually being a killer, I thought was a breath of fresh air at this point in time. His backstory was really good. I thought told very well. It made sense for his character to be the way it was. It all tied together very nicely. I loved his interactions with characters. I thought he was great. I thought he was very well done. Monodam, hate. Um, Monokid, hate. Monofanny, no, you're not Monofanny. You're Monofanny, hate. Monotaro, hate. Monosuke, dislike. Now, I thought the Monocubs were fucking dog shit, a waste of space, a waste of time. Actively, genuinely, actively ruined the entire game with their fucking antics. They were obnoxious. They wasted time in the fucking trials and the executions. And the only reason Minosuke is in dislike instead of hate is because I agree with him. Fuck the Patriots. Fuck the Patriots. Next up is Monokuma. Obviously, he's in top 5. Like, Monokuma is one of the greatest mascots in gaming history, right? He's one of the greatest antagonists in gaming history. Like, he is the epitome of fun chaos. Like, oh my god, like, every interaction of him, like, every iteration of him, right? Like, all the games, the anime, like, he is so fun and diabolical and evil, but, like, yeah, cutesy little ways. He is fun. He's the epitome of fun. He's a little gremlin that I love to death. I love Monokuma. Also, the Monokuma voice is great. I cannot currently do one because my throat is killing me after recording for 2 hours. But maybe in a future video I'll try. Monami slash Usami goes into indifferent. I genuinely don't care about them. Like they weren't. I do think they added to the game for what they were like genuinely. Unlike the other mascots down here in Hades, I do think she added to the game, but like at the same time, I could live without her. Like she was annoying a lot of the time, and like her having a cool moment during Chiaki's execution in trial is like doesn't save you from that. But like yeah, she's just whatever. Mukuro Ikusaba. I mean, she's barely a fucking character, right? Like, you don't actually get to know. I mean, you somewhat get to know her in V3. Not V3, sorry. Danganronpa 1, during her free time events. But, like, because you think she's Junko that entire time, so, like, she's not her own character. And then there's the Danganronpa What If that's also in the 1-2 Reload thing, and like that's just fan fiction. Honestly, this it's just fan fiction. Like it's not actual characterization. Like her actual character is that she likes Makoto because he was nice to her once. She's obsessed with her sister Junko in an almost incestuous way. Danganronpa incest. And that's kind of it. Like everything else that you may think you know about her is probably because of fan fiction. Like genuinely, probably because of fan fiction. Nagisa something ultimate little social studies. I loved him. He was my favorite of the kids in Ultra Despair Girls. I loved his character. His his character his background was like probably the least brutal, but like still pretty fucked up. And like his cold, shrewd, calculated, but like also childish and like immature and like kind of prideful character work I think was great. Yeah, he was my favorite of the kids. At no point was he ever annoying either, unlike all the other ones. So I was glad for him. Nagito um, is going to go into. I just realized I put Fuyuhiko in top five, and don't think I meant to. I think I meant to put him in love. Um, because Nagito is in my top five, and I know who else. Oh no, actually no, we'll keep it that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cause I just remembered who else I was gonna put in the road. Yeah, no. Okay, Nagito is in my top five characters. So my top five characters are, uh, in order, uh, Gundam, Kyoko, Monokuma, Nagito, Fuyuhiko, and Nagito is amazingly well written. He's my favorite antagonist of the series. Like on a street level antagonist, right? Like his his reveal in chapter one of DR2. Oh, he also ultimate lucky student. Was amazing. I thought it was so good, and then like his mental breakdown and his like weird his he is to hope what Junko is to despair, and like that twisted logic of his is amazing. He was such an interesting character. He made every single scene he was in more interesting. Every interaction he had was more interesting. I loved him in chapter four when he just shat on Hajime the entire time. I thought it was amazing because like he had learned the truth. Yeah, his obsession with hope is great. It's a great foil in the game as well. I think. Uh, Backstory, like he's also an unrealistic character, kind of like Junko, but it's so fun that it doesn't matter. Uh, and like he's another character that I could fully understand you hating, but like he's just so fun. Uh, hey Hajime. He's very fun. He's just a fun character. He's great. Natsumi, Kuzuryu, I'm actually gonna put in like. I actually you only see her in DR3 and only for a brief amount of time. But from that brief time, I actually really liked her. They did a pretty good job in making you like her and like making her feel realistic and everything. And her like her inferiority complex compared to her brother, I thought was great. Her I loved her interaction with Hajime. I thought that was great. For the little bit you see of her, I think was good. Nekomaru Nidai goes into like as well. Like Gundam, he is a character that I I was indifferent to him up until chapter four when he like chose to fight Gundam to the death. I thought that really improved on his character. Like I already was like starting to grow on him as well after he sacrificed himself for Akane. I thought that was great. Um, I think if he had less shit jokes, he would actually be in love, but that kind of ruined it. His character, uh, his um, his background was good. I would say he actually might make the least amount of sense for becoming a remnant of despair, just because like yeah, he couldn't do that hit red. He couldn't do sports at a certain point, but like I don't know it that didn't make sense. But like, I do like the character. I liked his how he built up everyone around him. Like I thought it was great. Him taking Kane under his wing, I thought was great. I think he was like a pretty well written character. Next up is Peko Pekoyama, the ultimate swordswoman from DR2. Also goes into like, uh, you know, I love her backstory with Fuyuhiko and the relationship with her or with him, as well as like with Mahiru and all of that, and her execution was really sad. And because like how it tied into Fuyuhiko and his character arc, and you could say that like, oh, they fridged her for that, but like that was the actual character. Like it's what they didn't kill her off to further Fuyuhiko. It's genuinely like what her character. It's not like in Wheel of Time season one when they killed off Perrin's wife, where they created Perrin's wife and then just killed her off to for his story. Like it wasn't like that. Her existence exists in essence because of the Kuzuryu clan, because of Fuyuhiko, and she's in love with him, and like I don't know, I think it was a really good dynamic. But I could see like arguments otherwise. But I liked it. I liked her. She by herself was not particularly interesting at all, but like combined with like Fuyuhiko and everything, I think she was a pretty interesting character. Next up is Rantaro Amami, Ultimate Adventurer. It's whatever. I don't care. I mean, he dies early on in the game. He's the first death, so you don't really get to know about it. You know nothing about him because like he's the character that lost his memories, so you don't learn anything about him until you do his free time events at the end of the game, or in Ultimate Summer Camp, and all that. Oh, my cat's a whiny little bastard today. Talking about Rantaro. He is. Eh. Next up, we've got. I don't remember her name. I do not remember her name. I, her, her boyfriend, and Psycho. I remember Psycho's name. I genuinely I thought their like triangle was interesting for what we the episode and a half or whatever we see of it. It's fine. If it was explored more within a 24 episode anime, I think it would have been very fun. But otherwise, I just don't give a shit about Rurika. That's her name, and that's easily right. Yeah, it's just whatever. Honestly, I have no strong opinions on them. I don't ultimately care about them at all. They just are what they are, you know. They just are what they are. Ryoma, I love. He is the most wasted character in the entire fucking series. He should have been a survivor in V3. He's the ultimate tennis pro. Oh yeah, ultimate confectioner, ultimate blacksmith, ultimate pharmacist. But Ryoma should have lived until the end of the chapter, because his entire character is that he is super fucking depressed, and he wants to die, but he's not gonna kill himself, right? He's too proud for that, basically. But he will offer up his life to whoever wants because he's a waste of space. His life is a waste, and blah blah blah. And first of all, there's a good start to a character, but then they just kill him in chapter 2, and it just doesn't go anywhere. No, Himiko should have died in chapter 2, and Ryoma should have lived until the end. He should have been a survivor, and he should have slowly grown out of that depression with the help of his friends and allies, and not grown out of, because you can't grow out of that. I suffer from major depression myself, so yeah, you don't grow out, but he should have been able to start being able to overcome that with the help of them all, and realize that no, his life isn't a waste. His life is important. His presence is important, and what really matters is stopping this game, stopping the mastermind, living to spite the mastermind, because him dying is what the mastermind wants. He could have been such a great story, and if I was to ever rewrite on the V3 story, which I won't do, if I was ever to do that, I would make him a survivor. Absolutely. It's just insane to me the wasted potential they had with this character. It could have been I think Fuyuhiko has the best character arc, but Ryoma could have been better, and they just wasted it on fucking nothing. I said his name earlier, and Ryotai. He's whatever. Yeah, he's genuinely whatever. He's genuinely just a plot device. For to get the characters brainwashed to become remnants of despair. Genuinely, that's all he exists for. So eh, eh. Sakura Ogami, I love her. She's the boss. She's the boss bitch. Genuinely love her. She's a great character. She's fierce first. She's a great fighter. But she's loyal to her friends. Like she sacrificed herself. Like she killed herself because she thought that would help the group as a whole. Survive and get better. And you know, then Hina tried to kill everyone. But by the by, Hina was misled. But like, yeah, she was protective and she was a great character. I think everything about her was great. Her backstory was fun and unique and interesting. Her being the strong, she was the ultimate martial artist. Her being the strongest person on the planet was great. You know, I loved her. I think she was great. Sato, I dislike. I thought Sato. So like, well, a little bit of not to me. You can be like, oh man, she had potential as a character. Sato did not. Her yandere obsession with Mahiru was actually annoying, and uninteresting. I feel like, and because you don't get much from characters, Sayaka. I mean, it's the same as Leon, right? Like she's barely a character. She exists to serve as the first death of the series. Like genuinely whatever. Like there are some people obsessed with her, and I don't understand why because like she's barely a character in my opinion. Like there's a large argument with in the fandom. At least I haven't looked at the fandom in like years or anything, but like there was a large argument about like, oh, was Sayaka evil? Was Leon this? And like, what these two? But it's like, guys, they're barely fucking characters. They're just plot devices. These two are just plot devices. That's all. That's all. They're not characters. Like, come on, be for real now. Shuichi, I'll be honest, I don't like Shuichi. I find him very annoying. He's my least favorite protagonist. His wishy washy, woe is me personality gets very old very quick. And like if he was a side character like, he was in chapter one, I actually think it would be better, it'd be fine. But having to like constantly be with his like pessimistic thoughts is just very obnoxious. And then I again with like Kaito, I don't like Kaito and I hated their in Shuichi and Kaito's situation, their energy and I don't know. I was not a fan of Shuichi. I didn't like playing as him. I think he'd be great as a side character, but as a protagonist, no. Sonya, I'm actually mostly indifferent to Sonya. Funnily enough, like, because her whole character trait is like she's a foreigner who doesn't understand the customs. I mean, I'm not Japanese, so like, but like the customs of where she is, and like sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's annoying, sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. But like her relationship with Gundam, peak. Her relationship with Kajuichi, yeah. Um, but otherwise, like she's okay, she's fine. Yeah, she's fine. Oh, I forgot to put you in there. Taka, I actually do like, and it's not because of him within the actual game, but like his free time events put him in a new light. Shed backstory and everything, and makes him actually interesting. Believe it or not, they make Taka interesting. It's crazy, alright? It's crazy. But no, yeah, like that's fun. And then it does retroactively add some stuff to his time in the story as well. Makes him makes it scenes with him better. Also, again, the romance with Mondo was great. I love that. His like super strict, like super intenseness was very fun. I do wish he had more of a presence later on. Like once Mondo dies, he goes into a catatonic state, and then he becomes Ishimondo, which is a non fucking character and just nothing, and then he dies. He dies without having like I think it was fine for Hiyoko to die when she did because she was starting an arc and cutting that short is impactful. Taka didn't have that. Like he was not starting an arc. He just became a fucking different thing. And it was not interesting, not good. Uh I'll be honest with you. I hated Tenko. Uh, her I hate men. One character note traits was dog shit. Very uninteresting. Her background doesn't give a good enough reason for it. It was never once remotely funny. But on top of that, I hated her one other character trait, which was being in love with Himiko because it was obnoxious and creepy as fuck. And genuinely, Tenko had zero redeeming traits for me. Can keep that buck. I thought she was a terrible character. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Teru I disliked. It was just, horny, pervy, fucking sexual assaults, sexual harassment guy. It's not funny. It's not interesting. His backstory is cool. Like very interesting. It makes sense and everything. Remnant of Despair. Blah blah blah. But like the character you see, the character is shown, and like, I mean, I guess at least he's fair opportunity. Like, but like because he'll hit on you creepily, just like he'll hit on Sonya creepily. So, the pansexuals. Samugi was a dog shit character. Even before the mastermind reveal, she was fucking dog shit. The out of all the gimmicks and one note traits of V3, Samugi's was the worst. It was like, oh, I'm just plain, was so horrendously obnoxious to listen to every fucking chapter. Every sentence she said was talking about how plain she was. If it wasn't that, it was her dropping some obnoxious, unnecessary, obscure reference. I mean, not necessarily obscure, but like some reference that didn't actually pertain to what was happening. She was an obnoxious character, and then the mastermind thing, which was a horrendous thing within Beasley, dog shit, was awful. It made her somehow even more. Actually, I can't say it made her worse. It made her slightly more interesting, but not enough to get out of hate. I was praying she would die every chapter. Like every chapter after one, I was like, "Oh, please let Samugi die in this chapter. Please, please let her die in this chapter." And she never did. Um, Yuta. I'm also gonna put Yuta here. Yuta and Chihiro's father both technically properly appear in Ultra Despair Girls, and you do interact with them a little bit. But in my opinion, not enough to actually warrant like getting a placement anywhere. And then Haiji. So I never actually bothered looking into it, but I've always assumed that the big thing with Haiji, most people hate Haiji because he has a pedophilic line within Ultra Despair Girls. Um, I've always assumed that was just like a translation problem. I don't I don't think the character is actually a pedophile. I feel like if he actually was, it would have came up in Monica's story. Like that sounds like the kind of the thing that would pop up there. So like, no, I don't think he's an actual pedophile. I think it was just a translation problem. But otherwise, he's still an awful character, and like an interesting character, and like a piece of shit in not a fun way. Like Byakuya's a piece of shit, but like he's fun by being a piece of shit, right? Haiji's not. He sucks. He sucks ass. Like a lot. He's awful. He is horrendous. Um but yeah, no, that's going to be my tier list one. I'm sorry that this is over 2 hours long, and I'm sorry that like the ending of it I started like just not going into depth on anything, but like honestly, if I went into depth with all those characters like I did in the first bit, this might be like 5 hours long. I have a lot to say about a lot of these characters, like genuinely so much to say. If you want to know any of my more in-depth thoughts about anyone, especially for the ones from the later series, or later on in the video, ask me about it in the comments below. If you want to hear my takes on the Danganronpa stories, all the games, the overarching story. Y'all didn't ask me about that in the comments. I will respond and everything. And fuck it, I'll debate you too if you want. Like if you think one of these characters should be placed in a different tier, yeah, I can debate you. Like obviously this tier list is my opinion, but like I try to um I try to defend the opinion on like facts on like certain facts, and then like my subjective stance on certain facts as well, like character tropes and archetypes and all that shit, and how well I think they were or were not implemented. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know some of these characters would get heated, but like yeah, go ahead. I'll debate in the comments. I don't care. That sounds fine to me. And maybe I'll do some more tier lists in the future. Maybe I'll do the Danganronpa executions and the chapters, or I'll rank other anime or game characters and moments and shit like that. So I don't know. Stay tuned to see what I do next.